What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
Ben, I have to say, sound a little different today, man.
Yeah?
You sound like maybe your left arm feels a little heavier or something, different, you know, this is like this new post-tattoo Ben. I'm not sure he sounds the same.
It's a new voice. It's a brand new confidence.
It's a brand new Ben.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So it's been really interesting to me because because of the way that we recorded, it meant coming home and having my tattoo and having been through the whole process and then having a full week of time where the announcement that I was going to do the tattoo hadn't even happened yet. So it's been one of these weird things where it seems in varying degrees. And then interesting as well, Alice posted a picture of the tattoo on her personal Instagram. So
yeah, if you were trying to follow the timeline of when Ben got the tattoo versus when he talked about it versus when he recorded getting it, it's all over the place.
It is all over the place. Yeah, exactly. So people have seen it. It's it has now officially been in one Super
Carlin Brothers video, because it was in the video that came out on Friday, our second Hunger Games video.
Oh man, we've been having so much fun doing some Hunger Games deep dive.
Has been a lot of fun, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Before we dive into that, which we totally can and should, So I finally got the tattoo, got the experience, got to go through and do the whole thing. I took my solo trip to New York City, which was very interesting and weird. And I think I learned very quickly that I'm just exceptionally bad at sitting by myself at restaurants and trying to figure out how I fit into this space or whatever. And so it was really cool because I was going to Brooklyn, and in Brooklyn, I don't know if this is a thing or not. It seemed like when I was researching for a place to stay, though, it seemed to be the case that there are not chain hotels. They're all more local and specific to the area.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was staying in a hotel that was very Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You know, it was swanky and cool and had a coffee bar and a cocktail bar and a rooftop bar.
Lots of exposed brick and industrial iron pipes and wooden tables and
all of the above.
Yeah. Edison light bulbs.
Of course. Oh yeah. Naturally. But LED Edison light bulbs.
Of course. Yeah.
But no, so the space was super, super neat. And the room itself, was kind of your classic New York City room that you're staying in. So it's very small, but I got there and I felt the amount of adventure that I had endeavored on at this point in time was such that I don't think I had any more capacity to adventure any more than what I was already doing.
Right.
But that also meant that I had a fair bit of downtime to just sort of figure out how to make hours of the day pass so that I could reach the point where I could go to sleep.
Right. And you didn't have a specific destination. So, and it wasn't I'll just go wander the streets.
Yeah, I got there and I landed and I was well, maybe I'll just go see if I can get some last minute tickets to a show or something. But even that was a 35-minute Uber ride from where I was to where the show was going to be. And I was I don't know how I feel about it. It's not that big of a deal, but I was just then I'm going to go and be the show by myself. I don't know. Maybe I should have done it. But either which way, I went up to the top of the rooftop bar or whatever, which I guess this hotel, lots of people might come to the hotel itself just to go to this restaurant, even if they're not staying there, if that makes sense. It's
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you get up to the rooftop and there's just this total end-to-end wide open air view of downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
So it's just
I wonder, that must be more of a thing in bigger cities and stuff, that just restaurants that aren't on street level are more of a an accepted practice kind of thing.
Oh sure,
exactly, I remember we went to when we went to Chicago for Beth's marathon. It was everyone was going out to dinner after the race had happened, and they found they heard about this cool place, and we were walking around trying to find it, and we're oh, I think this is the building. So we go inside, and then it's elevator ride up to the 17th floor, and then you get out, and sure enough, it's a fancy restaurant. It was such a cool place, and they had great food, and it was how were people supposed to know about this?
Right.
If you were just walking, they're getting zero street traffic. You have to know about it.
But that's the thing is, I feel in a place that where there's just so much more people and
Yeah.
demand, and like everybody there is kind of like looking for those kinds of experiences, I guess.
Right, like the population density is so high that it's like it's okay if everyone walking past doesn't know about it. We only need enough customers to know about it that will continue to fund the restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about like in specific areas, you might look at like your potential market share, and it's like, okay, like in order to make it, we need to capture like 15% market share of all people looking for, this form of cuisine or something. And it's like it's like as long as we have like 0.2% of the population coming here, we're fine.
We're good.
It's like, so
We're
yeah,
fine.
the market share is massively spread out. But either which way, so I go up and like I asked if there was like room, and they're like, well, there's a spot at the bar, and I was like, okay, well, I'll eat at the bar, it's no problem. So I get up there though, and I'm finding myself in just this like very like, I don't even know. It was a situation, I felt like. So I was
Everyone could tell I'm by myself.
Everyone could tell about myself. Yeah. So I'm like parked between like to my left are like two girls who one of whom was from the area and the other was like a childhood friend who was like visiting, and like that girl's back was directly to me, like they were talking, and then to my right was like a couple who was there, and the girl's back was directly to me talking to the guy. And so like I'm sitting at the bar, and it's right in front of where this particular bartender on this big long bar was working. So like me and this guy are like, literally if I'm sitting where I'm sitting, he was like 3.5 feet in front of me for the entire dinner. And yet it was kind of like one of these things where it's like, do I make like small talk and chat with this guy and just sort of be like, so where are you from, man?
Yeah,
like,
right.
like sort of just like deep dive into it. And it's also fully chaotic. So there's all sorts of just like moving parts and people like running back and forth and delivering dishes and shaking drinks and all sorts of stuff. So, it's just like, so I'm just sort of like sitting there, and I'm like trying to like figure out how to like not be staring at people or like being awkward or whatever. And even the place itself is known for this like huge plate of appetizers, which is like, it comes out, it's probably like a 15-inch plate, and it's like set up like a clock.
Oh.
And all the way across the circumference of the plate are different dishes, all of which are like, uniquely pickled vegetables or like a kind of cheese or like a
like just a
hummus
real
dip.
fancy charcuterie board or something.
Exactly. They were like, and so like I asked the guy, I was like, well, like, what do you think? And he's like, well, this is like what we're known for. Like, this is like what people come for. And I was like, and I was looking to the people on either side of me. I was like, is it too much for one person? And he was like, oh, absolutely it is. And I was like, should I do it? And he's like, you should definitely do it.
Yeah, do it anyway.
Yeah. So, like I'm sitting there and like they bring this, I mean, it's like pounds of food.
Yeah.
The
Clockchuterie.
Like, the Clockchuterie. Wow. Coin that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, like I'm trying to eat and like pace myself, but like also when you have nobody to talk to or nothing else to do, I'm just sort of oddly eating very fast all of a sudden, which
oh my gosh. This happens to me at like every party ever where like I go, and typically, if you go, at any given party, there's like, there's like the table of food. And it's like, oh yeah, go help yourself get some food. And it's always like, I always like that part. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go here. And my goal is to load up my plate with as many things as possible so that as I'm standing there, even if I'm not talking to someone, at least I'm eating.
Oh yeah.
I don't look awkward because I'm eating. I'm not talking to people because I'm eating. But then I'll feel like, all right, I got a good amount of stuff. I'm so set for a while here. So I'm free to not be involved in a conversation if it comes to that in a while. And then it's like 2 minutes later, I'm like, crap, I ate all my food. I know. I really didn't pace this out very well. I got to go get more.
That's exactly, yeah. I'm the exact same way. You got to have a prop at a party.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of times I'll walk around and like just have like a drink in my hand. And that way, if there's like a lull or whatever, it's like you just take a sip while you think of like the next thing to say.
Yeah.
And then I end up, I'm like, like, so it's at every single party, I'm very unintentionally like nervous sipping, and it's like, okay, well now I've gone through like way too much.
Oh,
yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm done with my drink already, man.
Yeah, I know. Shoot. Another task to go and do though. Go refill it or something.
Right. And then, but if you go back for like the second or third time, you start feeling like, it's pretty obvious what I'm doing here, or that I'm just way more interested in the food than everyone else, or something.
Yeah,
Like,
everybody's watching me.
Everyone's watching.
This is like the thing that's just so not true
I
about
know.
parties. Is like nobody. It's the same thing about like if you feel like you can't make it to a party and you're like, God, they're gonna be so upset with me. And it's like chances are if like they're in host mode, they're like just talking with everybody. It's like they are so busy that it's fine. Anyway though, so I'm having this sort of like experience, and the food was amazing. I mean, it was really good, and like I said, the view of like downtown Manhattan was absolutely beautiful. So like I finished with my meal. It's like 7:15. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep for like at least another like 3 hours. Like, I mean, and so like I asked the guy, I was like, is there somewhere I can go where I won't bother anybody, where I can just like take in the view? And he kind of looked at me like, that's a strange question that I never get, and I was like, because the other thing too is I like had like a drink with dinner, and I was like, but I don't want to like I have like a big day tomorrow. I was like, the last thing, like I'm not here to try to drink. I just also like I needed the prop.
Yeah,
I
right,
was like, I need to hold something.
Got to be doing something, yeah.
Right. So he's like, well, there's a balcony over there. People love that spot. So I was like, all right, perfect. So I walk out to the balcony. There's like nobody, on this like bistro table or whatever. So I'm sitting there. I'm like looking at it. I'm just sort of like literally just watching the sunset over the city. And I was like, well, this is like absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like the view can't be much better except for that one building that's right in front of us. And so like I'm like watching this other rooftop bar like slowly like fill with people, and it has like a water tower on top of it that's been like converted into like a speakeasy up on top.
Very cool.
And I was like, well, that's pretty neat. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll try to be adventurous.
I'll try and go over to that bar.
I was like, I'm going to leave this building and walk over to that building. That'll give me something to do for a minute.
Exactly.
And so I'm like, I've got a new mission. This is going to be great. I got stuff to do.
I'm going to increase my view by one building.
By one building, yeah. And about like a minute and 45 seconds later, I'm standing on top of that building, and I'm like, well,
now I also have nothing to... that's what you made it up there, though. It wasn't like a closed event or anything? Or
No. I had to pay a cover, which I was fine with, because I was like, at this point, I'm just trying to like experience like something.
Yeah.
But you get there, and it's definitely just like, it was much more of like a party atmosphere, which was even harder for me to assimilate to. Because, like people are up there like dancing. There's like a whole thing going on, like a super active, like, bar.
Guys, I'm trying to enjoy the view.
I know, yeah.
Come on.
So I like wind my way up to like the water tower, where there's this like absolutely spectacular view, but the front row of everything is all like taken by people who are standing there taking pictures and stuff. So I'm like sort of like leaned back against the wall, standing on like a bench, just staring out at the view with my arms crossed, and I was like, this is so awkward.
You're so aware of your like alone individualness.
Yeah. Yes, I was just like, everybody's here. Everybody has someone to talk to, and I'm just some dude standing here by myself.
Right. It's like there's nothing wrong with going out and just spending time alone. It's just like you feel like no one would choose to come here by themselves.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, it's just like it was such a, but I mean, it was beautiful. It really was beautiful, and it was really cool just to like be there, just like see it unfold, and be like, I never see stuff like this, back home. So I mean, it was kind of like, okay, that's cool. But so at some point in time, it was just sort of like, I can't stand here by myself anymore. So I go back to the room, and at this point in time, I'm just fully starting to go into like freak out mode, because at this point in time, I still don't know what is going to be permanently illustrated onto my human.
Yeah, the next day.
Right. And I'm like, I have to come up with something. There has to be a jumping off point. Like, what do I tell this guy when I meet him?
Was there like a part of you that was like, I don't know, but I know that it at some point between now and me making the appointment, I am positive it will arrive to me, because I have like set my brain to work on it. And so I don't know, but I know that I will know.
Yes, exactly. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. It was just sort of like, I kept thinking to myself, I was like, well, I'll be on the trip by myself. I'll have nothing but time, and I'll be able to use that time to not be worried about like everything, like being a parent. I won't have to worry about like, running a business or doing
writing a script.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even just being like with Alice, at home, like just like where we have like all of our own, like things going on, and like our relationship and all the rest. And so it's just like, I'll have nothing but time to sit and think. And I know it will just like strike, and I'll just know what's it like. I'll be like, okay, I found it. I found
Right.
the thing. And that had still not happened yet. And so the next morning I show up and I'm so excited to meet this guy. Cause like like I said, I'd seen all of his work and it was just like everything about all of it. I was like, it's so thoughtful and intentional. And like, you can just like, you can look at it and immediately like derive meaning, and it's all like, like unique and stuff. And so like I get down and like, we start talking and I'm telling him about like, all the different aspects of my life and my hesitation about coming there to have like the meeting and like, some of like the big worldly contemplations that I've always got. And this guy is like clicking with me exactly right. He's just sort of like he is like the,
I hear you. I thought about that.
yeah. Like he's like, yes. Like, like so many times where he like, clearly like, has a similar, like frequency or something to those deep thoughts that are always going on. But there was also the point where he was like, I can't tell you what to put on you. Like, I can't just make something up and have it be right. Like, you have to tell me something. You
got to give me something.
Yeah. So like, I talked a lot about like sort of my people pleaser tendencies and, just like how, like I don't know, like I'm going through like all these different aspects of like what is the meaning, and like all these just like every single big thought I've ever had, I throw all of it at this guy, just sort of like what's gonna stick.
What stands out to you?
Right. And so there's this one tattoo that originally led me to this guy in particular, and that tattoo that I had found had these like two lion heads depicted in it, and like one of them was sort of like snarling and the other one was sort of like majestic, but like I think it's very much intended to be like the same lion but speaks to this like duality of nature type thing. And I was like, I sort of can like resonate with that, because I feel like on like part of even like the people pleasing aspect of my personality is almost like the snarling version of it, for example, might be like the actual interior like emotions that I might feel through all these situations, whereas the like majestic, calm, peaceful looking version is like what I might like press forward. So there's like the inner me and then the outer me, and like the knowledge that they're both me. If that makes sense, is like a piece of like why I think it was like, it's not to say that like one of them is fake, it's just sort of like they're different.
Right.
It's like I don't know, like it's like that both of those things exist within me at once. But when I had talked to Alice before going, there was like one thing in particular. I was like, is there anything on your no-fly list? Like anything in particular that you would say like, don't do this? And so the one thing that she told me was lions. And
I suppose you could have done like another animal, right? Just that represented the same meaning.
You could have, but then you have to pick one. And I don't know why or what it is about a lion in particular. Like for one, Allie is like a Leo, and so having her depicted somehow was sort of like, okay, like that feels like a way to do it in a way that also feels like connected and not just random. But then it was and for some reason in my mind, lion doesn't feel specific. Like it doesn't, like, if I were to do like a walrus, for example, it's like that is a specific animal.
People would have to be like, what's your connection with walruses?
Right. But like for whatever reason, I was like, people don't need to know what your connection is with a lion. Like everybody connects with lions.
And lions speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It represents animals.
I can't believe you just didn't go for scorpions then,
Just straight
scorpions. Thinking people would be like, now you have to be like, now I get it. The differences are subtle. Scorpions, not a really expressive species.
Right. Yeah. Not so much. This is an angry scorpion and a not angry scorpion. Can you tell the difference?
They look the same, dude. I don't know.
No, this one's smiling. You can tell it's smiling.
You can tell
bit.
It's smiling.
The smiling.
Scorpions, it's a classic scorpion smile.
Yes, of course.
The happiest of animals.
So I'm talking to him about it. I'm telling him like the tattoo that like led me to him in the first place, and he knows the exact tattoo that I'm talking about, and he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, of course. So like we finally go up to like this really cool studio that like overlooks all of like Brooklyn, and it's just got floor to ceiling windows, and it's like a very small space, but it's like super like modern and industrial and creative and open air and like all sorts of stuff. It's just like being in the room itself. You're like, this is cool.
Neat. This is all right, man.
It's like I can't believe I'm the type of person who gets to stand in this room.
I know. Ben's a Scorpio, by the way. That's why I suggested Scorpions.
That's
I
a good point.
don't think we specified that, but because he mentioned Alice was a Leo, Ben's a Scorpio.
There
Boom.
you go.
Anyway,
boom.
that's all. In case you were like, why Scorpions?
Yeah, connective tissue has been formed.
There we go.
So anyway, so he sits down and he starts drawing or whatever, and like we've had this whole big conversation and all the rest, and he like has been tinkering around on like the computer and like bringing in like all of these like different elements, and he shows me like this full big composition, and like dead center, most prominent like aspect of all of it are lions. And
oh man,
it's like I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I don't know what to do here because the people pleasing aspect of my personality literally took on its end, flipped over, and then wound together in the weirdest way.
Right.
Where like if I were at a restaurant, for example, and somebody brought me a dish that wasn't what I ordered, I would 100% just eat it anyway. It would be like, okay, don't worry about it. This looks good,
right?
And so the people pleasing was being ripped basically between being like, he's done a lot of work on this already, and he's produced a concept, and that like I don't want to tell him like, no, I can't do that, because also I'm trying to like, because my wife specifically asked me not to do this one concept, and that was the only thing she said. And so it was really funny the way it was kind of like, I was like, oh man, well, and so then I'm like, there's one thing that my wife asked me not to get, and it's lions.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, but dude, this is the moment. Like, he's like, he's like, we've been
talking to me all morning. You haven't been able to settle on something that like you were finally leaning towards a lion. Then you got a call from your wife. She said, no lions.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, do you understand like what this represents? Like, this is like the moment to do. And in my mind, I'm like, at the end of the day, even if on some level you wanted to compare this to like people pleasing, it's like it 10,000% matters to me that my wife likes it.
Right.
Like no matter what, that is like an essential piece.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Of course.
I want her to like it, and
it's not people pleasing; it's wife pleasing.
Yeah. Which is like
different,
fundamental. Yeah. And so
but from his point of view, I'm sure he's witnessing like some kind of harmonic convergence here. Just like this, he sounds like a very spiritual person.
Yes.
Just like, dude, we've been going back and forth. We've been diving deep. You've been talking about people pleasing. You chose something, and now someone said don't do it. Like, are you gonna people please?
I know. Yeah. So it's like it all feels very symbolic right now.
He's like, this happens to me every day.
Right. And meanwhile, I'm like literally like freaking out.
Yeah.
I like inside of this moment, and I don't even know if this is a real thing. Someone will have to science let me know whether or not it is. But I felt like all at once I could smell myself.
Wow.
And I was like, did my body like just off-put like something as like a
pheromones going or something?
Exactly. Like literally I was like, I am like aware of my own scent all of a sudden in a way that literally I never am. And I think it was probably because I was just in a mild state of just very, very nervous and anxious about this entire experience. So I was like, well, that was a weird thing that just happened. But then, so it's like, we like close the laptop. We start talking a little bit more. He's like, you're trying to incorporate too many things into this concept. Like you're trying to encompass everything. And if we try to do all of it, it's not going to make sense. Like you have to be okay with this piece speaking to like the specific message that it has.
Right.
And so then it was sort of like, let's dial it back a little bit. Let's take a few steps backwards and like let's zero in. And as soon as we did that, I think like a lot of all of my like qualms that I've been having for this whole time, like leading up to this whole process, like the indecisiveness, the inability to like imagine anything, like went away. And it was sort of like, which sounds obvious. It's like think, try not to do so much with one thing. Don't make it a Swiss Army knife tattoo of meanings.
Right.
It's like, oh no, this symbolizes this and this symbolizes this and this and that, and so once we did that, we basically landed on this tree concept. And I have always liked the tree of life style of like tattoos. I just think it's like interesting. I also just like trees and like wood in general and in life. And so finally, like, we scrap the lion concept entirely, which, by the way, if anybody has lion tattoos, I am not even opposed to it. I think they're awesome.
Right.
I like this is not me saying like that there is anything even like remotely like that, like not right about like something like that. I mean, if anything, I love it, but it's that was like the departure. So anyway, so we landed on this tree concept. It's like a tree of life, and the idea is basically that you've got like roots that grow up into like the tree, and then there's like a trunk in the middle where we have the sign for Leo and Scorpio, which is both. It's actually me and Allie, but also me are Addison and Allie, and they form a circle around the trunk, which then feeds into the top of the tree, which is broken into 4 seasons. So you've got like the 4 seasons of the year. So like some of the leaves have like fall leaves, some have snow, some are like darker green, some are whatever. So it's sort of like the seasons of life, which then you experience like with your family, which is Addison and Allie for me, throughout going forward. And then the rest of the tattoo is like a huge portion of it has this like section, if you've seen a picture of it, or it's like on the thumbnail for this video.
Yeah.
It's also on Alice's Instagram if you want to go and find her on there. And we'll post pictures of it to Patreon and stuff like that as well. But there's a big section in the middle that sort of forms like a circle. And this was like one of those moments where it actually was really cool because I was able to sort of like give something to the artist, which is that like he has like a very specific style. He's got like his like hyper detailed stuff and everything, but he was like, can I just have a piece of the tattoo to do what I think is right to like fill out the composition? And so it was just sort of like, this was like your question last week, which was like, if you just put a sheet over it and was just like, can I just go to work and you'll see what's there at the end?
What's there.
It was like, in a way I was like, I'm so glad you had said that, because I think it made me so open to this edition, as I was like, yes.
Yeah,
you know
do
what?
it.
Yes. Like, I want to see, like, if you just feel like something is right, what is it? And do that. So the kind of like ring around the middle there is, or around the sort of outside middle. Those are all just sort of like symbols that he just thought like looked really like neat and fit together, but they don't have like specific, they're not like runes or have like a specific meaning or anything. And then at the very top is the alchemical symbol for gold. Which basically just goes back to the concept of the golden rule, which was maybe like the one inclusion of the tattoo that I think for composition purposes it was included, that doesn't necessarily fit the theme of the rest of it. But the golden rule is definitely something that, like, since I was like a little kid, I always sort of like resonated with, and it's been, if there's any level of philosophy that I have maintained for my entire life, it's just basically treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah. I mean, it's that to me, it's such an interesting thing about that rule, because I've been like, we've been like talking to Luke about that like concept lately.
Yes.
But it's like, it's interesting to me that it is basically present in every major religion, is do unto others as you would have others do unto yourself. It's like, no matter what direction you're coming from, everyone sort of settles on that.
Yeah, it's like such an agreed upon, like, it's such an agreed upon and an interesting way to land on this conclusion that is like so unique, but also applicable to every single human being.
Yeah.
Like, everybody individually may have a different meaning in their mind as to what it means to treat others the way that you want to be treated.
Right.
You know, like maybe it's the case that you're like, I want everyone in my life to like push me really hard to achieve more, and therefore that is how I treat all other people. But at the end of the day, if those two things coalesce, I think that like in a perfect world, that should yield hopefully like a balance of sorts.
Right.
You know, in terms of like how you're going about doing things. So anyway, that's the capstone to it. But I am honestly, the whole experience, it was a 5-hour like actual like tattooing that took place. Where I guess actually even what the artist himself had told me was that it normally would have actually gone faster, but apparently I have thick skin.
Oh,
the first time I've ever been
accused of that,
of having thick skin. So apparently there's something to keep in mind for all future work, if any, that I have done, is that apparently it will take me a little bit longer to actually receive the ink, but the pain wasn't as bad as I expected.
Well, that's cool.
I would call it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
The big thing I always come back to with pain is I feel like there's unknown pain, which is unnerving because you don't understand it.
Yeah.
So like if you go for a run and you get back and like your like hip is super seized up, it's like it might not even be that painful, but you don't know why it's happening.
Right. There's like panic and fear associated with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then there's like the additional, like the word I always use, I almost feel like needs to come with its own like trigger warning, but it's just literally like mutilation. So the best way I was able to keep describing the tattooing feeling for me was almost as if like something really sharp was cutting your arm, but and if it was something really sharp that was cutting my arm and it was being done with malice, then it's like I think it would hurt a lot because of the associated like physical damage that was being done to my person. You know, you're like what bad is going to accompany, and that's probably unknown a little bit too, but what bad is going to accompany this pain? But because this was so easy to like acknowledge and understand why it was happening, it was like, well yes, it hurts, but like one, I knew it would hurt some amount.
Yeah.
And also like I am like very in control of how and why it's happening to me.
Yeah.
I came here for this to happen.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the big questions people kept asking me. And then the other one was like, are you hooked? Which is like the, will
Are you getting another one?
will there be more?
Yeah.
Which I will say that once I had that click on what the composition of it, what it would look like and everything would be, and not trying to do so much with one image, I was like, oh, now everything makes a lot more sense. And now I do have other ideas that I can picture clearly.
Right.
So there is that, but I think that no matter what, I will sit with this one for a little bit and just like kind of get to know it and
excellent
new part of myself. So anyway, that's the saga. Bucket list item complete.
Bam. Nice tattoo. And it looks awesome. It's really cool. If you guys haven't seen it yet, definitely go check it out on like either Alice's Instagram or Patreon or wherever. We should probably just put a picture of it on like the Carlin Brothers Instagram.
We can do that as well.
Yeah.
Shout out to the @Carlin Brothers Instagram if you want to go and check it out.
Yeah, right. Boom. Go check it out.
How about time for a transition?
Let's do it.
Okay, Jay. So I have a question for you because I feel like I've been talking a whole lot. And you have an interesting comment in the show notes here, which is my headphones and the anti-burp setting.
Oh my! Well, gosh, if you want to go from your very profound journey to my very like stupid and silly
yes, I want
problem,
that. I want that so bad.
So okay, so we have over when I'm working at our desk, we have like a set of wireless headphones, the Sony WX4000 or something. I think that's what it is. I don't know, whatever it is. They're really good headphones. I really enjoy them a lot. They're extremely comfortable, and they do like the sound canceling. They're wireless. They are booted up to my computer.
They almost do sound canceling to such an aggressive fault, which is that like people can walk in to the office and be like, hey, quick question. And, you know, like we will not hear them at all.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, if like you and I are both have our headphones on and we're trying to like holler at the other person, the frequency at which it's like, hey, what did you mean by this? Jay.
Yeah.
Jay.
Ugh, you gotta like wave to get their attention.
Yeah.
But so they have this, they're like pretty advanced. It's not just headphones. They have like a bunch. Well, they only have like two buttons on them. One of them is the power button, and the other one is like the connect Bluetooth button. And you can use that other button to like cycle through several different like I want noise canceling on or noise canceling off or whatever. But you don't have full control over the headphones capabilities from the headphones themselves. Like if you want to get inside and change a bunch of the settings, you then have to go download an app on your phone and then connect your phone to the Bluetooth on the headphones and then adjust the settings and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which we'll get back to that. But so anyway, one of the built-in features that you cannot turn off via the headphones without downloading the app is that if you are wearing the headphones and you talk out loud, it will stop the noise canceling, because what it assumes you're doing is talking to someone else, and it wants you to be able to hear what they say back.
Yes. Okay. And it is a feature of the headphones that I find to be quite frustrating.
Yes.
Because maybe it's because you and I do just physically work so close to each other, but the like if you answer a phone call, like if you get a call from Beth, for example, and I'm working on like a video, and like you say like hello, like it will be loud enough to register in my headphones and be like, oh, no, I know you want to hear what they're saying, right? And it's like, no, I do not want to hear what they're saying, like at all.
Yeah, it is an annoying feature, and you cannot turn it off via the headphones. So normally, though, like a lot of times, it doesn't come into play that much, because normally like when you're actively listening to something, you're not also speaking out loud,
right?
So you're not like cutting it off too very often, unless maybe you're like singing along with whatever you're listening to, which I feel like must be more of a thing than like never.
Yes, right. Yeah. No, can I just say, just a brief aside here, was it took me an embarrassingly long period of time to realize that when you have headphones on and you're singing along and like, air quotes, harmonizing with the singer of the song itself, you hear mostly them, and so you're singing out loud in a way, but you can't hear your own voice. So your own voice is really far off from being harmonized because you can't hear you.
Right.
And I feel like, so when you sing along out loud to the music that you're hearing inside of headphones, and I don't know if this is always the case, or maybe if I'm just really bad at singing, but it's really bad. like the distance, but even if you were just singing
in your brain, you sound the exact same.
Right.
I'm right there. I'm in tune. I got it. And it's like, nah, probably work a little bit more on that.
Right. Yeah. So it's like if I were to sing like Blink-182's like All the Small Things, for example, it's like I'm sure that if I was singing into a microphone, even at like a karaoke bar or something like that, that like I would sound a little bit better. But if you're singing with the headphones on and you can't hear your own voice, then it sounds real rackety.
Anyways,
so anyway, that's a total aside, but has nothing to do with your burp situation, which I have a feeling I'm starting to understand as you give me more pieces of the story.
Yeah. So anyway, what the real issue is here is that like a lot of times if I'm just like settling in to like write something or like review like one of our rough cut videos, that's typically when I'll put the headphones on for like an extended period of time. I'll normally put some like lo-fi music on in the background, really like try and dial in. But if you've been around me for long enough, you will know that I don't know why, but I just burp. I just do. Okay. Like it just comes up. I don't have an explanation for it. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be anything, but it does happen, and I am aware of it, and I get it. Okay. Anyway, moving past that.
Medical professionals remain divided.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Sometimes I'm like, I wonder if I just swallow weird, and I'm like, if I just swallow a bunch of air all the time or something, or like, am I drinking wrong? And I'm like, that can't be it. But I'm like, maybe I just like take in a big gulp of air whenever I also swallow like a drink or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, it would be so strange if you ever were to be like, if you were ever able to physically step into someone else's consciousness and all of their muscle memory remained intact, and you like went to take a sip of water and they literally swallowed differently than you.
Oh my gosh.
And all of a sudden it was like you could like inhale a whole bunch of liquid because the way that they do it is actually different. And it's like, whoa, I know everybody was doing this kind of differently.
I know. Yeah, you wouldn't think this is something you can mess up. It's such like an instinctual thing.
Right.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happens though is that I'll be sitting there going through, and all of a sudden I'll just have like, even just like a small, just like burp will just like come out of my mouth while I'm going through, and the headphones will be like, what was that?
Right.
And it'll shut everything off, and it'll be like, oh my gosh, that was so annoying. And then I'm like internally embarrassed by like the headphones. Like it's like the headphones are making fun of me.
It's like it's like being in a meeting and you burp and everybody stops the conversation and looks at you for like 3 seconds and then carries on.
Right. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that loud at all. Like I don't even think it would have disturbed anyone else. And it's like, you're in a closed, like no one else would have heard it. And it's like, suddenly I'm like, oh, never mind. Someone was watching and it was the headphones. And now I just feel like embarrassed and annoyed that the sound went off and I have to like wait for it to come back on.
Right.
It is so, or to like pause the music sometimes if you're like listening to it, it'll be like, oh, we paused that for you. And it's like, no, I didn't want you to pause that. Or like sometimes we're like watching like the pop, like we're doing the pop premiere, and then it'll pause it, and then I have to like speed back up to catch up to the present again. And it's so annoying. And it's like, at one point I had gone through and done the entire like app thing, and like it was not easy even once I got in the app to figure out exactly what setting turned this particular thing off. But I remember it being layers complicated to do it, because in order to turn this setting off, you have to download the app on your phone. Then you have to connect your headphones to the phone, which they're already connected to the computer, like automatic. Like right now, when I turn them on, they automatically connect to the computer, and they don't have an option to connect to anything else because that's the only thing they're associated with.
Right.
But once you connect it to your phone, now it has two options. So when you turn it on, it's like sometimes it goes to the phone. It's like, so I know, like, after I go through the entire process, I then have to disconnect my phone from the headphones afterwards so that it doesn't accidentally connect to it later on every time I turn it on.
And that, like, the hierarchy of like Bluetooth technology is like one of these things that I do think it's like I want to better understand how the device makes choices about this, because at one point in time we were like on a road trip and we were like listening. I think we were doing like the directions through Alice's phone, and like for the maps or whatever. And so we had plugged it in or had it like routed through the stereo or whatever. And then from then on out, despite the fact that my phone had always connected to my truck and still always did connect to my truck, it would always choose Alice's phone over my phone if we were both in the vehicle together.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, this is just unfair.
This is just
It's
annoying.
Like, you're my truck.
Right.
You're supposed to know me.
Supposed to know me, man.
Right.
So frustrating.
Anyway, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
not personal, but
So,
I took it that way.
And then anyway, it's not like you can just like download it and connect it and then be like, okay, cool, flip switch, done. That's it. Because like you download the app and then you have to like sign up for a Sony account and go through like several layers of like answering questions and putting in all these forms just so you can finally flip the switch so that it will turn off the thing in your headphones. And then it's hard to even know like whether it has worked correctly until the situation arises again. And anyway, this was just my, I finally went through and did the entire process again. And it took like 15 minutes, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it's certainly like way more steps than should be required to flip one switch so that you can burp freely in your own office by yourself without being embarrassed by your headphones.
Well, it's true. It does. It literally feels like it should be a built-in toggle switch. That's like, it's like, hey, do you want like voice mute to be on or off? It's like that should be like one of the most fundamental.
Right. It should be right there.
Right there. What happens if I wanted to sing along to my song? I can't do it.
I can't do it because you can't make sounds around these things.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been fixed. Problem solved for now. We'll see. Anyway.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
That was my one line. Not nearly as personal as your tattoo story.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I totally, I think it is honestly kind of hilarious. And interestingly, because I have the exact same headphones, I am able to highly relate to this particular problem, just in that like the number of times that something will happen that will cause my like actual activity that I'm focused on doing to be muted. It's like, okay, whatever. We'll get through this. Yeah. Total first world problems. Anyway, okay, so moving on from that then to something that possibly could be more meaningful.
Okay,
another note you have here is
yeah.
I'm feeling that vlog itch.
Feeling that vlog itch, dude. No doubt. So yeah, I mean, for years I did the personal family vlog.
Yes.
You know, it was like behind the scenes SCB, what's up with the family, and I always really enjoyed doing it, but eventually it just became like a little bit much, and I had to like put it on the back burner. I realized I was just falling behind. I brought it back like maybe was it just last year? I don't know.
Yeah. It seemed like right around when you had the twins, you had been doing it pretty steadfast up until that point.
Until the twins.
But that also kind of coincided almost directly with like the pandemic.
Yeah, COVID.
And
where then we were really doing nothing.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to give you an update on what's happening out inside of my home because it's pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much the same
every
thing.
single day.
I'm just barely sleeping and working in the basement. So yeah.
Right. So that's a big one. And then from there, I guess you brought it back in 2021.
Yeah.
And we were both doing them for a little while, and which was kind of interesting. And I'll say like my own personal experience with doing it was that like I had always I'd seen yours and I would like watch yours and I'm like, this is so cool. Like I would love to be able to show like what is happening in my day-to-day life and like what I do behind the scenes or at home or like what like these major life developments I'm going through are. And I dove into it personally for a little while and was sort of like, man, this is just like really cool and I like love the like finished product and being able to go back and like see like, you know, oh my gosh, like look at all these things that like we were doing and like set to music and it's beautiful and like all the rest of everything. But I feel like when I stepped away, it was almost like, I think I scratched my itch for it. And it was almost like, I think I'm good.
I think I'm good.
Like
I did it.
Like I think, yeah, it was, that was an interesting one for me where it was almost like when I was done, I think it was kind of like, you know what? Now I know. Now I know whether or not that was something like I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I like, enjoyed the process and everything, but you know, anyway, there's like a vulnerability attached to it. So, but that being said, it sounds like despite the fact that you've now been off it again, you're sort of like feeling like, you know what?
Well, so yeah, because I think there's as ever is the problem when you do stuff like this and you're putting it like on YouTube and like other people are watching it as well. It's like you start questioning like, am I making this for me? Am I making this for the viewing audience? Like, am I making decisions in the real world that are being motivated by the potential to get like the more views or be clickier or something like that.
Right. Like you want something interesting to happen.
Right.
Because interesting is then, you know, ultimately like you know, again, like an air quotes, like better product.
Right.
And the other thing and the weird bias to overcome with this too, is that like you live your own life every single day. And therefore like you typically think like, this is like, this has become mundane or like, this is just like what my everyday always looks like. So like, why would this be interesting to share? But there's always that reality to the fact that like, because you live inside of it every single day, like it might become more mundane to you as an individual. And you might be like then asserting like, well, I need even more, like I need something even more interesting. Like when what your already existing life might just be interesting.
Right.
I always find this like with like writing in a journal is like one of the big things I run into is it's like, well, why would I even write this down right now? Like this is not going to be like, you know, it's like, of course I know I feel this way about this particular thing, but then what I typically do is like, I'll go through spurts where like I'll write in a journal for like a week once every like 8 months.
Yeah.
But then it's always really interesting to go back and be like, man, back in March of 2021, I wrote this. Interesting.
This is how I was feeling then.
It's like I can remember feeling that way, but it seems interesting looking back on it, even though when I wrote it, I knew it felt very like obvious.
Yeah.
You know, which I also
Right.
think is kind of interesting. So it's like you may even be like, well, you know, like I see Nick and Nate every day. You know, like, so what is there new or interesting that like I can like in you know, developmental processes, like whereas like taking first steps, for example, is like one of the things I was always like, you know, that'd be such a momentous occasion. Like,
right.
First steps. But then also when you live with your kids every day, you don't see them change every day. But if you go back and look at pictures of them from like a year ago, it's like, whoa, you changed a bunch.
I know. That's always so exciting. And like, that's one of my favorite things about looking back at like the old vlog stuff is just like, oh man, this is like, look where they came. I'm so glad we made this because I can like look back and remember this. And when I started up again, I was having a lot of fun doing it. But then like when I sort of decided like, okay, I just need to stop again, I realized that like in stepping away from it, I think I have like sort of like maybe overcorrected a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Where like I was filming like everything all the time, like just always make sure I've got something. And now I'm like, okay, no, I decided not to do it. So now
like to be more present.
Yeah, to be more, because I wanted to like be more present because I felt like I was filming too much stuff. But then I feel like I took that to heart to the point where like I'm not even filming as much as just a regular parent with a child.
Right.
You know,
right.
like
it's like, why am I not filming them chasing each other with the hose right now? It's like, it's like because I'm being present. It's like, no, everybody would document this anyway.
But exactly. So I've lost sight of the line for like, what is just like, yes, this is a cute thing they're doing, so I want to record it, and everything is like, no, never record it because then you're not being here, sort of thing.
Right.
And it's like, but then I'm like, no, I think I would have gotten that. So now I feel like I take like almost no video and almost no pictures like all the time, and like, so the thing that is really like prompting it in my brain is that Luke is starting kindergarten.
Mind blowing.
I know. 1 week from like Wednesday. And so I am like, it is this like giant, big, like momentous thing that's happening. And I feel like it's going to like, you know, it will change the day-to-day life of like my entire family for the next, 18, 22 years, by the time the twins are done with high school or whatever. So it's like next Wednesday is going to be this big turning point. And I want to remember that day in particular. And it's like making me want to, and I want to be able to remember how I was feeling on that day.
Yeah.
And it's making me really want to get into it. And there's been a bunch of, we've had such an eventful summer. We've been all these different places. And I've every time I go, I'm like, this would have been a good vlog. Oh, that would have been a good vlog. And then of course when I was doing it, I always felt like this isn't a good enough week. This was a boring week. No one cares. And but since I stopped doing it, I felt like every week would have been great,
Right,
and it's
right.
it's like the grass is always greener kind of problem. Where it's like when you're doing it, it doesn't necessarily feel interesting. And then when you're not doing it, everything feels like it would have been interesting.
I know. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's such a great way to place it because, and I think interesting. So my end of it again was that basically forever and ever and ever, the concept for the vlog that I'd always imagined in my head was like live life on purpose.
Yeah.
That was the basic premise behind it was it's not like trying to do interesting things necessarily just so that it would be interesting to the rest of the world, but it would sort of be so take some of the things I've done this year, like going and getting the tattoo or running the marathon or something. It's these are things that I want the push, the motivation, the justification to myself that is okay to try to do this thing for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the part of it that I really liked about doing it is just sort of man, this is such a good motivator to really take good pictures or find interesting perspectives on how I could film, cutting an orange or something like that, and so creatively, I felt like there was a lot of oh, this is kind of neat, but it's also cumbersome at the same time. So I'm getting ready to go on on my last trip of the summer, which is to the lake in a couple of weeks. And one of the things that I had done for a couple of years, sort of pending going into doing vlog life was getting up at 5 a.m. to go outside and film the sunrise because it's absolutely beautiful. And there's a kaleidoscope of colors and it's just reds and blues and pinks and clouds and whites and all the rest. And it's just really, really cool. And it was I really enjoyed that I had something propelling me to go out and wake up and do that thing. And even if I were to say I missed something about social media, sometimes it's it is the question. It's who is it for? Is it for you, or are you trying to post something that is for the world? And I think probably the best middle ground there is almost you doing something that you genuinely love and are all about. And I think that just translates to anybody else who sees it is this is someone who just cares, about getting the sunrise shot or finding some cool, it's the first day of school. And every year since kindergarten, we've always taken a picture of Luke next to the tree that we planted the day he went to kindergarten or something like that, so it's every single year that goes by, it's when he went to kindergarten, we planted the tree.
Right.
And then we take a picture in front of the tree for first grade. And then when he's a senior in high school, it's this is
look how big the tree is.
It's a full-blown tree. And,
Yeah.
it's Luke's first day of school tree.
Right. Exactly. Boom. Here it is. Hooray.
Right. And, over the course of always, that ends up, I think, compounding into something extremely meaningful, and probably that's even the premise of the vlogs themselves, is that taking the effort and getting to go back and look at your hard work. Maybe it's for people when you start, but it's for yourself after the fact.
I think that's sort of the approach I'm feeling I think the line of the blurred line of what I'm doing it for seems I've gotten enough distance away from it that it's just become a dot again. And I feel like the real thing I want to be doing is just documenting my kids growing up. That is the point of what I want to be filming. And if I if it can be like a curated, nice, cool thing that we can go back and watch later, that would be awesome. And I feels like it would be, I'm feeling like motivated to document it again. So this is not me promising that I'm going to do it, but I do feel like I want more of the documentation and to be more intentional about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think it's awesome. And you're right, because you've had a cool summer. You've done your vegetable garden.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
taken some trips.
Oh yeah.
We've
had a lot of very like fun projects and stuff that have all been really good. Yeah, a lot of good trips that I definitely have lots of good memories from. I feel like they could have been that I did not film though in any way.
Right.
Yeah. But so I don't know. That's what I've been feeling. So we'll see. Maybe I'll pick up the camera again, give it another shot here.
Give it another whirl.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, I think no matter what, this is I call it my intermittent journaling. It's kind of like, you know what, even if I only do it once every 8 months for like 4 days at a time, it's like I do still end up getting these like interesting little snapshots into my life. So even like don't let the continuity of it like throw you or something like, oh man, like I haven't posted anything like since the kids turned 2.
Right.
You know, and it's like they're 3 and change now, you know, it's like you know what, at the end
not
of the
worried
day,
about that. Yeah, that's fine. I feel like, you know what, the rest of the vlog can still exist, and I can just start with a new sort of like episode 1, if you will, reintroduce the characters as it were.
Right.
Here's the people at the office, this is who I'll be talking most of the time to, here are my kids, this is where they're at now, and this is where we're going from here. So
I like
you know, bam, here we go.
There you go.
Vlog. Actually, on this note, on the vlog, we went to I think the last time I did a vlog was when we were at Disney World earlier this year. I was vlogging that trip, and we came home and I edited it, and it is uploaded to the channel, and I have never made it live. So
no way.
It is just sitting there, and I'm like, it got to be like 3 weeks later, and I was like, it'd be so weird to just like one-off this right now, especially because I've sort of put the camera down, and it's like, it's been so long since the last one, and there won't be another one that will just seem random. And then that kept being the problem over and over and over and over. So now I'm saying it out loud so that I can tick it on later.
Right. Yeah.
So here, I'm saying it. I will schedule it to come out. What is today? When you're listening to this, it's Friday. So you know what? I'm going to schedule it for tomorrow, Saturday.
Nice.
Bam. There you go. The Disney vlog is coming. The one you've been waiting for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like for weeks,
for way
weeks,
too long.
Right. Yes. That people knew that it wasn't there, and they have been missing it.
And
now you're about to give the people what they want.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yes. So, go check it out. Jonathan Carlin vlogs on YouTube.
Amazing.
Prepare thyself.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that is super. It's fun to think about, and like I said, I mean, I've got like my lake trip coming up, and I feel like it's always a trip full of adventures and random little like outings and stuff, and like that is like one of those where it does feel to me like, you know what, like this is like, I could almost see doing like annual things where it's like my vlog gets 1 episode a year, and it's my trip.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like each year, like you can subscribe, and once a year there will be a new piece of content.
I'll put it on there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I've actually thought about this. So like I get questions all the time about social media and like whether or not I miss it or like would want to come back. And I would say that I do not miss scrolling at all.
Yeah, sure.
Even not just not even a little bit. But that being said, like it occurred to me that there have been some occasions like the tattoo or the marathon there like this year where it was kind of like, this is the kind of thing that like I wouldn't be opposed to like showing people like that this happened.
Yeah.
It's sort of like boom, like, like this is something that I'm proud of. Or even like with the tattoo, for example, it's been like a strange one where I have found myself being like, do I need to like text my friends and let them know that I did this? Like, is it going to be strange to them, or they would be like put off if like they see me 3 months from now and they're like, what's up with that? When did that happen? And I was like 3 months ago. And it's like, why didn't you tell me? It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like such a big change to have made. And maybe it's not, maybe it's not that big of a deal or nobody would care. But like, it's like, I was like, I'm going to see people who I see infrequently enough that some time will pass and they will be like, what what's the story, and like they won't know anything about it. And so one thought that had crossed my mind was almost like the in the same capacity as doing like a once a year vlog upload. Is almost like posting to my Instagram once per year on December 31st, and it just being like, how people do like here's my top 10 from the year, and it's like these are like my top 10 best photos or whatever. It would almost just be like that, except I never posted the photos in the first place, so it would just sort of be like, this was my year. Here are 12 things that happened in my year.
This year,
that were momentous or important to me, and I will explain what they are. And that's something that has felt like a way to like when we were kids, for example. I think our dad for a long time used to send out like a newsletter.
A newsletter. Yeah,
he
that
would
was definitely a thing.
Yeah, he would like email the family and just sort of be like, this week, we took a trip.
Here's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. We went camping. It rained a bunch, or whatever, and it was just sort of these like. I
want to say it went before. I don't want to say it predated email.
Did it really?
Like it might have been like a physical piece of mail.
He would have mailed. Oh, we're gonna have to ask Dad.
Yeah, we're gonna have to ask.
That would be impressive.
I know.
It's like looking back on it, it's like that. I mean, gosh,
Dad is exceptionally good at logging things.
He is.
This is he has got, like, if you go to our basement, there are like decades worth of meticulously kept and crafted photo albums down there where he would get the photos and write on the back of them and put them in there, and they're nice and organized. There are decades worth of binders of his recorded workouts from I think for a very long time he got like 100 miles a month either biking or running or something, and I mean for over 10 years or something like so. And I remember sometimes it would be the end of the month and it'd be like, Dad's got to do like a 20-mile bike ride like down in the basement or something
because he's got to
hit the number,
right?
But like there's that, then like from the year in Carlin sort of stuff, and then he had like a blog at work called the Carlin Chronicles that it was going, and like even I don't know, Dad, this is like an extreme talent of our father's.
I know. Well,
that he is good at recording information.
Yes, I know. It's like I am so envious of it as well, because like one of the other ones that gets me a lot, so like I said, like my intermittent journaling once every 8 months or whatever, one of the things that I often wish I would do is like if I'm having like a down day, sometimes it's like everything has just been awful for a long time now, and it's like what I wish I would do at the end of every single day is just like literally like drop a token in like a bucket or something, and it's like green, yellow, or red, and just sort of like basically be like, was today a good day, a medium day, or a bad day? And that way, like I could go back and be like, oh look, you know what? I've actually had mostly good days lately. There's like a couple reds in here, mostly like, like a handful of yellows or whatever. But I feel like that data sometimes would be so like useful, because you're like, man, I've been having such a hard time. And it's like, have you, or was today hard? Because like when you're having a hard day, it feels like the world is like crashing around you. And it's like, I'd be willing to bet that in lots of instances, it's not. At least it's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
But like your mind will latch on to bad things in a way that it is like so unable to do with good things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I know people do like mood journals or something where it's like every day you'll like just draw like a it'll be like a bar graph, or there's so many creative ways to do it, but it'll just be like, just when you get into work, draw a line for how you felt yesterday from 1 to 10 or whatever. Was it a good day? And then you can just sort of look over the course of the month, and hopefully it's like all, higher up, and you just have a few down days or something.
But that's the thing too, is I feel like the more I feel like I'm having like a hard time, the more I want this data, and then the more things are going well, the more I'm like, this is kind of useless.
Right?
Like, what is this going to provide me?
I can
like,
God, even the way you were describing that, like putting it in the buckets, like I can. It's like that's such a fun, good idea, and I can already see my brain like strategizing around it, being like, you're just putting like on the bad day, I'll look at the buckets and just be like, look, you know that you only put those in there for the situation, and that those are all lies to make you feel better right now.
I know. Yeah, I have the exact same thing. Or like I will overthink the day itself and be like, was it that bad of a day, or am I just being dramatic or something? And it's like if you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. Like, like give yourself that. Like you don't need to justify like no. You know what? Like it's like, it's okay to recognize like that maybe is what happened.
Right.
And yeah, so I think that's But that is like how I found myself going for a little while. I remember I had like an app that would like alert me every single night at like 9 p.m. and it would just be like, how you feeling today? You know, and like you'd punch in some of this type of information. And I felt like every single day I would so struggle to actually put anything of meaning down.
Sure.
You know, and it was just like but it's like that's not. It's like if you're not gonna like play the game, then like it's not gonna be helpful. So
right.
It's like,
if you're not gonna be honest about it, what's the point?
Exactly. But like that's the but that's how I feel. It's like I work against myself so hard.
Right.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Right. Just let it go. So anyway, maybe starting today, I'll start my mood journal back up again.
There you go.
For like 4 or 5 days.
Great. Yeah.
A streak.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, as ever, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Pop. Be sure to let us know what your thoughts were on any and everything.
And what your mood is.
What's your mood?
Yeah, what's your mood?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Or on a scale of red, yellow, green. Or on a ones or zeros basis. One being good
or lions or scorpions.
Or lions or scorpions. We'll know what you mean.
They don't have to be bad moods. We could just have you're either in lion mood or you're in scorpion mood. Whatever it is, you know?
Right. It's
why do we have to be... Maybe the problem is we're framing it as it's good mood or bad mood.
Right,
you know?
that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Don't even make bad an option, you know?
It's like, was today lion or scorpion day?
It was like, it was lion or scorpion day. It doesn't have to mean it was a bad day either way, you know? It was just lion or scorpion day.
Right, and you can look back at the data and be like, wow, I'm scorpion a lot more than I thought I was.
Scorpion a lot more than I thought, yeah.
Maybe I should
It's not a mood
be.
journal, it's like a personality journal. And you're just like, man, I am Scorpion a lot of the days. I'm so Scorpion, dude.
I'm so Scorpion.
Boy, as we're saying it, I'm already loving this idea more and more and more. We probably need more than 2 animals, but you know what? It's a good start. Lions and scorpions.
It's a good starting
That
point.
also sounds like a fun board game, Lions versus Scorpions. Who even knows? People will be like, this is a weird choice. And you'll be like, it was weird, but now it just is. So
now it just is.
Yeah.
All things that seem odd at first end up being less odd later.
Exactly.
Because you got used to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got used to it.
Profound stuff today.
Profound stuff. Yeah, we're getting deep, man.
Yeah. I will say that I did get a cool piece of feedback from a little colonel, which was they had designed a tattoo several years ago themselves that they had like wanted to get for a long period of time. They had been on the fence about it. They had sort of parked the idea for a long time, and then they were listening to the pop, and they were like listening to your whole like saga and everything. Had finally like reignited their interest in going to do it, and they actually went and got the tattoo like 3 weeks ago.
Whoa.
So they had actually done it before I had publicly even announced that I was going to do it. And I was like, that is so cool.
Epic.
Yes, that was incredibly neat and fun to see. So congratulations. You know who you are, that you got your tattoo. Well done. Otherwise, guys, all other feedback can go to popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Or if you would like to support us over on Patreon, we have an extra bit of content each week called After the Final Pop. It's an extra 15 to 20 minutes of Jay and I talking about either something we did or didn't get to in the main episode. And there's a huge backlog, all of which is immediately available if you sign up at any point in time. Otherwise, until next time,
Pop, pop.